Welcome. I'm Dr. Patrice Berry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. Today, I was just planning to share about Emma Daybell and the other, her husband, and then also Garth Daybell. I will still be doing that video immediately following this one, but I saw the forensic expert for the defense, and we definitely have to talk about this. I was thinking that the defense was going to have a stronger expert, but the things that the expert talked about, I don't know how much it helped them. And the prosecution did a great job coming back and going after the person's credibility. And Pryor possibly said something that might have, he said something. And I think it was just, I don't know if he would admit it was an accident. I don't know what he would say about what he said, but we're definitely going to play it. I will tell you now, Chad had no reaction to what he said because I literally went back and played it again to like, did Chad look like what did Chad do? And he was just as like controlled and bland as ever. And so if y'all have questions, please let me know in the chat and we will get going. So, this expert is a forensic pathologist that was brought in to review the Emmy's results. And I thought the medical examiner did a phenomenal job for the prosecution presenting their findings. And this individual was brought in to share an alternative view of what might have happened to Tammy. So let's get started with this part.
Exclusionary rules that your understanding?
It is, Judge.
Okay. You may inquire then. Thank you, Ms. Breyer.
Good morning, Dr. Raven. Would you please state your name, spell your last name for the record?
Catherine Raven, Raven.
I think I have it turned up. I like to speed things up sometimes. I'm going to put it back to normal. There we go. All right. So let's keep going.
And can you tell me what your occupation is?
I am a forensic pathologist.
Okay. Explain to me what a forensic pathologist is.
I'm a medical doctor. I actually did 4 years of medical school. Then I became a pathologist, which is the doctor that's at the hospital, does all the lab tests, biopsies. But I specialized even further in that. I went into forensic pathology. And that.
All right. And so she is a forensic pathologist and she's going to go into all of her expertise. I want to skip ahead to 14 minutes. There we go. All right. So let's get started from right about here.
From what the organs. And then there was no toxicological cause of death either.
Okay. Now, you indicated that the body was exhumed and they performed an autopsy, and then the same day the body was reburied. Is that correct?
Just no.
I don't know when it was reburied. I'm sorry.
Okay. But the autopsy was done as the same day that it was exhumed, correct?
Again, I'm not sure. I know the autopsy was done on the 19th, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure when it was exhumed, to be honest.
So
I liked that this expert, what she knew, and what she could state, she stated, and what she wasn't sure about, she didn't get combative with the prosecution. To me, she presented herself in a way that seemed very professional to me. And she's going to state her findings and her thoughts. I think the prosecution comes back with a very good information later. So I'm going to play a little bit more of this.
the date of the autopsy was October 19th of 2019.
I believe it was December. I'm sorry, it was December 11th. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you're right
Yeah,
too.
I'm
My
sorry,
goodness,
too.
where'd I
Yeah.
get that from? I know where I got that from.
Right, the date of the incident was
Date of her
October 19th, but
date of her
the,
passing was, and I apologize for that.
well, I misspoke too. So it was December 11th, 2019.
Okay. Now, the autopsy was done on December 11th of 2019. Do you recall when the date of the signature that was placed on the autopsy was placed on that document?
I believe it was in January. I can't remember the specific date of 2021.
So am I understanding that it would have been over a year plus between the time of the autopsy and the signing of the report?
It would probably be close to over 2 years.
Okay. And is there some explanation that you can come, logical explanation as to why there is such a gap in time between when the autopsy was done and when these folks decided to sign the document with their findings?
What?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Do you have any idea how it might
No.
be such a length of time?
Sometimes the toxicology testing takes a while, a few months. So if you get it back and it's negative, and you might go back and say, let's try this again, let's try this, let's look for this, and let's look for that. That's the only thing I can think of why it would take so long to sign out a report.
Okay, and that could be the explanation, is that it took them a significant amount of time to try to find something in the toxicology that would support their theory?
Or other things, yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, you came to a conclusion in your report in regards to this case, is that correct?
Yes.
And what was that conclusion?
My conclusion was that since there was no anatomical or toxicological cause of death, no injury to account for death, that it would be best classified as a cause of death as undetermined.
Okay, now when you say,
So undetermined, I don't know that that helps them that much. So, because the prosecution said asphyxiation, and she's saying there's not enough. She's not saying natural causes, because the the defense is trying to say that Tammy died of natural causes, and that is not what she found.
no physical cause of death, you did review Dr. Christensen's testimony, is that correct?
Correct.
And there was some mention, at least during this trial, of the bruising on the arms. Is it your conclusion that those bruises could not be taken in consideration to support a different conclusion of asphyxia?
Well, again, the bruising on the arm is nonspecific. They're just bruises on the arm. They don't indicate a cause of death. They don't cause death in and of themselves. They're just nonspecific bruises on the arm. So I don't believe it supports a diagnosis of anything other than there was some blunt injury to the arms.
Okay.
And so to me, her testimony, she came across, because we have this to compare to like Dr. Lewis or to other defense experts that to me have kind of ruined some of their credibility by not admitting that, like, oh, we just don't know. There's not enough information here. It could be this, it could be that. This is what I found. To me, I think she came across um in a credible way. But then the prosecution is going to come back with their thoughts on everything. So I'm going to skip ahead to the prosecution's cross-examination. The full link to this video is in the description for people that would like to watch without my commentary. All right.
For the record, what you reviewed?
Absolutely. I thought I wasn't supposed to, but I can.
Yes, it's an exhibit that's been admitted, so I think that's appropriate.
So I could just verbatim.
Yes, if you wouldn't mind doing.
So right now, she's about to review the things she reviewed. So the defense expert is about to read the different reports and things that she reviewed, and then the prosecution is going to come back with
that.
You have to excuse my voice, I'm sorry. The following materials were reviewed regarding the death of T. Daybell. Autopsy report authored by Dr. Lily Marston, co-signed by Dr. Eric Christensen. Autopsy photographs, toxicology reports from NMS and the Utah Department of Health. A brief investigative report from the Office of the Medical Examiner, State of Utah. A typed coroner report, not signed, dated, or on letterhead, unknown time, authored, or source. The Fremont County Coroner informal record of death report, a report by Deputy Greenhall, excuse the name, Detective Fabinich and Lieutenant Powell. Scene photographs, unknown source, report by B. Mattingly, Fremont County Incident Report from 10/09/2019. Copy of the death certificate for T. Daybell, signed at 10/19/2019 by Brenda Dye, and the transcript of Dr. Christensen's testimony, Brenda Dye interview, and Deputy Coroner and Wilmore's interview.
And so that was a pretty exhaustive list of things that she reviewed, and she probably felt very confident making her decision based on that information. Now for the prosecution.
And you said maybe since then you've reviewed a few more documents.
Yes, I believe so, but that was 3 years ago, so I believe a few things have come through. When I started first reviewing them, a few things have come through since.
And do you recall what those things are that have come through?
I believe it was just, I believe it was different reports of what the coroner reported on. I don't recall specifically, I'm sorry.
As part of your, and let me back up, and these were documents that were provided to you by defense counsel?
That's correct.
So when you say you reviewed the autopsy report and other pertinent information, it was the defense that provided you that other pertinent information, is that correct?
The defense provided me everything, yes.
Did you review a report from Lieutenant Powell regarding requesting Walmart records?
That does not sound familiar, but I don't remember.
Did you review a report of an interview with Emily Daybell?
I don't recall.
Did you review a report of an interview with Paul Daybell?
I don't recall.
Did you review a report of an interview with Jana Penrose, a relative of Tammy Daybell?
I don't believe so.
Did you review a report of an interview with David Warwick?
I don't believe so. The name's not familiar.
And you said you reviewed some of the coroner reports. Would that be Brenda Dye? Does that name sound familiar?
It does sound familiar. Like I said, one was not signed. I didn't know who wrote it, but that name does sound familiar.
Did you review an interview that was conducted with Brenda Dye, a report of that?
I believe so, yes.
Did you review a report of an interview conducted with the deputy coroner, Cammie Wilmore?
Yes, I believe so.
Did you review a report that contained some records from a Lolly Time iCloud account?
No,
Did you review a report from Benjamin Dean, an analyst with the FBI?
no,
Did you review the Seasons medical records?
no,
Did you review the Teton medical records?
no.
And I think you indicated you did review some reports of the October 9th incident,
Yes,
and that would have been regarding an attempted shooting of Tammy Daybell. Does that sound familiar?
yes,
Did you review a report of an interview with Matthew and Regan Price?
I don't believe so.
Did you review a report of an interview with Haley Palmer?
No,
Did you review any reports of interviews with Angela Yancey?
no.
So right now, the prosecution is trying to put forward that their expert did a more thorough review of everything. And if I was asked for a second opinion and I saw all of the records that were provided to an expert, I would request those exact same records, if the person did list out everything that they reviewed. Because sometimes when you're an expert for the defense is going to give you kind of what they want to give you. And it really is on the expert if they feel that there's something else that they need in order to make their finding. Because what can happen is this right here, where they end up looking less credible to the jury because there's information that they did not have in order to make their decision. Pryor's going to try to minimize this, and we'll see how good of a job he does with that. But let's keep going.
Did you review a report of an interview with Ronald and Phyllis Douglas?
Judge, I'm going to object at this point to the relevance of how that would have an impact on the autopsy. She's going to go down a list of every report that any witness in this case
Mr. Pryor,
discussed.
no speaking objections, please, but I'll sustain the objection at this point unless there's some specific relevance to the autopsy.
And if I may respond?
Go ahead.
I'm reading off a list that was reviewed by the Utah medical examiners in making their findings. I
Okay,
think it is relevant.
all right. If that's the foundation for that, I'll allow that to continue. Thank you, Ms. Blake.
Once again, if I knew what the other person had to make their determination, I would ask for that exact same list, because I think that does come into play when somebody is making their decision. And Pryor's going to try to say that the scientific expert, like that the prosecution has confirmation bias. He's going to call it something else. He's going to call it confirmatory bias, but he's talking about confirmation bias, where you already have an idea in your head and you only pay attention to the evidence that goes along with that idea, and that you disregard all the evidence that doesn't fit that narrative. And so I think that's where the prosecution is going to say that their expert did a more exhaustive review of everything.
Did you review a report of an interview with Ronald and Phyllis Douglas?
No,
Did you review a report of an interview with Lisa Jensen?
No.
Did you review a report of an interview with Janet Davis?
No.
Did you review a report of an interview with Melissa Coles?
no,
Did you review a report of an interview with Mary Fran Jepson?
No.
Did you review a report of an interview with Faye Harris?
No.
Did you review a report of an interview with John Ox?
no,
Did you review a report of an interview with Margaret Brown?
No.
Did you review a report of an interview with Stephanie Peralta?
no,
Did you review a report of an interview with Angela Johansson?
no,
Did you review a report of an interview with Shanna Miller?
I don't recall.
Did you review a report of an interview with Barbara Blair?
I don't believe so.
Did you review a report of an interview with Hannah Munoz?
No.
Did you review a report of an interview with Britt and Crystal Briggs?
No.
Did you review a report of an interview with Micaiah Baglin?
No.
Did you review a
I don't-
report of an interview
I don't
with
know who
Cara
any of
and
these
Sandra
people are.
Briggs?
I don't know who these people are.
Did you review a report of an interview with Emma Moss?
No.
Did you review a statement given by Greg Stoddard?
I don't recall.
Did you review 4 to 5 reports regarding insurance surrounding Tammy Daybell life insurance?
No,
Did you review a report indicating Tammy never used any sick days?
no,
Did you review her Walmart prescription records?
And I think the never using sick days is really important, because Chad's defense is trying to put forward that Tammy was this fragile, close to death person. And the coworkers are going to say that she was strong and healthy. Emma and Garth are going to try to present a different narrative. I personally don't think it went over very well, especially Emma. And that's what we're going to talk about at 6 p.m. So at 6 p.m., we're going to talk all about Emma. I'll answer all of y'all's questions that I can, of course. But to me, this expert not having that information, that could backfire with the jury. Because if I was on the jury, I would give more credibility to the person that had more information, that was taking a more holistic view versus the view that the defense wanted to portray. Just my thoughts.
no,
And I'll also say,
Did you review a report regarding Tammy's cell phone?
oh no,
no,
Did you review a report? Actually, I'll back up there. So as part of your review of the findings in the autopsy, you did not review the list that was just read off.
no,
Were those documents provided to you?
no,
Some of those that were indicated.
My stream is resetting. Give me 1 second. Hopefully I don't have to reset the whole thing. Just give me 1 second while it resets. All righty. If I have to come back, I will. Yes. So I'm going to have to force quit and I will be back in just 1 second. I hate it when it does that. Good gosh. I will but the medical the first was pretty much just talking about that she didn't really review all that the prosecution's expert was given, that the ME was given. Let me just catch up on the chat real quick. We love Grizzly True Crime here. Nice. All right. Y'all know. And before the next stream, I'm going to make sure to restart my computer. I think that will make everything run a little smoother.
4 to 5 reports regarding.
All right, let me make sure I'm sharing the right tab. Yes. All right. So I'm just going to make sure that we're at the right part. All right. So she's gonna, because we were at the part where she was talking about the Walmart records, the prescription records.
Being insurance surrounding Tammy Daybell life insurance.
No,
I'm gonna fast forward.
no.
Did you review a report? Actually, I'll back up there.
So I'm just gonna skip ahead a little bit. There we go. Let's go here.
And the difference being in an autopsy, your patient can't provide that information, correct?
That's correct.
So you would have to get it from collateral sources?
Pertinent to the cause of death, yes.
If I may have just a moment.
You may.
I'm gonna fast forward through that moment. I don't think she's gonna have anything else. I could be wrong. The defense expert does say that it might take, I think she said 450 pounds to, because the ME talked about pressure being applied to the chest, and she said 450 pounds. Well, we're not sure where Alex Cox was. Over in some other channels that I've seen, people have kind of hypothesized, did something happen to Tammy in that quiet nook? Did something happen to her up in that area where it's harder to hear anything? And then was she moved, or like there have been a lot of speculation about what could have happened to Tammy. And Garth didn't get home until 1 a.m. And I believe the ME put the time of death a lot earlier. I want to say it was it like 12 a.m. but it was definitely before 1 a.m. That's when the medical examiner, that was the time of death she found.
I have no further questions.
All right. Redirect Mr. Pryor.
Dr. Raven, Ms. Blake went over a litany of other reports and statements from other witnesses, a variety of other documents. When a forensic pathologist is examining a variety of other documents that are not related to the medical reports and the scientific evidence, is that an example of confirmation bias?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Is that an example of confirmation bias when you take into account all of these other reports documents, statements of people who were not present at the murder?
So,
We're going to go back and hear that one again. I almost missed it. Who were not present at the what? Who were not present when? Were not present where? And not even like alleged death or like alleged like I I was I heard that live and I was like, "What?" And if you notice, Chad had no reaction at all, none whatsoever. From Hidden True Crime, I'm bad with names, but the wife of John, I'm so bad with names. She talked about that the courtroom in the gallery, there was a little gasp, a little, there was like a little gasp at that moment. The jury might not have noticed, but we're gonna have to go back and hear that again.
When you take into account all of these other reports, documents, statements of people who were not present at the murder?
Once again, you see Chad, no reaction at all. And I don't know that this will be a big deal. I don't think it's a reason for anything major. The jury might not have even noticed. This might be showing that Pryor is a little like tired with some of, I don't know, with just how long this process has been. Are we on week 6? Are we on week 5? I think this is week 6. I know this is day 27. But for me listening, if I had been on the jury, I would have been I would have taken notice of that. Oh, so people are saying that the jurors possibly noticed. I was like, I have got to go. So I literally scheduled this live because of that statement. I was not planning to talk about that at all today. Like, not present at the what, sir? Okay.
so, and it's a difficult question. We don't honestly look at all those reports on any case really I've ever heard of such an exhaustive list because we don't have those reports available to us. Maybe over a 2-year period, we would have them. I don't know. But we don't. Again, we always base it off scientific evidence, what we have in front of us, the autopsy. Either we have a cause of death or we don't. We try not to speculate. We try not to guess on what a cause of death is. There's lots of implications to that for anybody. So generally speaking, it is bias. If that's what you're using to determine a cause of death for, that's bias.
Okay. So I missed that part because I was so stuck on what Pryor said. So she did say that it could be a sign of bias. To me, I think it's a sign of a thorough investigation, especially after a coroner kind of messed up. To me, you kind of had to do all of this because you're taking a look at it after the fact, after embalming. But and for him to get married, I think the next week and the day after his wife's memorial, or after the day after she died, or the day after the memorial. That's in Garth's no. That's in the brother-in-law's testimony. Emma's husband. They're meeting Lori like the next day. And the children were not aware before they did that interview, that TV interview years ago. I don't think they were aware that the affair was physical. I think they thought it was just emotional. I don't think they thought it was physical. I don't think the kids, because they seem to be very, very forgiving of their dad. And we're going to talk about enmeshment in the next part, but we'll play a little bit more of this.
Bias. Either you have a cause of death or you don't. And then again, if we had a case like this where we don't have a cause of death, we do just call it undetermined. And we put that list, what we've talked about today, these are potential findings, but we don't commit to one of those.
Okay. And to commit to some other information like a plastic bag or sitting on someone's chest or putting a pillow over somebody's face, would you agree that that would be conjecture, speculation, and hunch?
Without any evidence
Yeah.
of that? Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And at the present time, would it be your testimony that the logical conclusion in your mind that should be drawn from this is that the cause of death of Tammy Daybell would be undetermined?
Yes, in my opinion, it should be undetermined.
Judge, I have no other questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
And I just don't think undetermined helps them that much. Like, I know that they're saying it was undetermined. I honestly don't think that it helps them that much. I was very surprised. I saw Chopper put something in the chat. So Corey Richins' attorneys, that team of attorneys, they were released from her case because I think she was supposed to have her preliminary hearing in a month, I want to say. And I was very surprised that the judge let them come off of the case because it's likely going to prolong her preliminary hearing, getting a new legal team. Let me know if you all have any questions. Thank you for saying this. Qualitative data is also scientific. I agree. Um, my dissertation included qualitative and quantitative data. People like the numbers. If you can have, it makes it easier. Not easier, but it's more straightforward. Normally when you have qualitative, you get other people's perspectives when you're looking at research. But yeah, it was supposed to be, I thought it was June. I thought Corey Richins was moved to June recently. Yeah. And I think it probably will get moved again. So this case has had a lot of ups and downs. The defense called 2 additional witnesses after this one. They called a investigator that talked with Melanie Gibb, and but because I think they're kind of trying to say, was Melanie involved somehow? But even if she was, that doesn't mean that Chad wasn't. And Chad is the one that's on trial because right now they're blaming Lori, they're blaming Alex, they're kind of blaming Melanie, and the person in the chat, like I said, they mentioned the raccoon with the Fitbit. So in the old days, my Fitbit, when I moved my arm, my Fitbit number would go up. These newer Fitbits, because let me look. I have a Fitbit. It doesn't move as much because I used to be able to fool it by like moving my arm around and my steps would go up. But some people wouldn't get Fitbits because it wasn't accurate. Yes. Oh, so her I will have to look that up under Goodreads and check out those comments. I will definitely take a look at that. So I'm going to reset my computer. We are going to start right at 6 p.m. talking about Emma Daybell and Garth, and then also Emma's husband's testimony. If you would like to come on over to that one's going to start in about 12 minutes. You should be redirected there. And if not, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one.